Just waiting for the delay. All right. Uh, Something has been a pet peeve of mine for a number of years. And every once in a while, it leads into a really good discussion. And it's all about the phrase, let me. So, what is it that bothers me? Well, what bothers me is 30 years ago, well, I won't say that was a very seldom used phrase for what it is highly used for today, which is just about everything. Um, Howdy, Susan. Nice to have you here. Yeah, we're going to unslave one phrase at a time. So, this is important because word manipulation is has been used to enslave you. Yeah, it's part of the system. And so I don't know where it started, but it probably started coming from your television sets and your movies, um, like that. So here's an example. Uh, I took my wife into the eye appointment a few years ago, and we stand at the counter, and the girl on the other side, she's asking for information, typing information, typing. She gets all that done. She pushes a button. She says, I just printed off your paperwork. Let me go get it. I'm like, what? 30 years ago, that same situation would have been, I just printed off your paperwork. I'm going to go over here and get it. I'm going to be right back. Taking authority for yourself, being responsible for yourself. Whether you're on the job or not on a job, you're always on a job. You're working for God, aren't you? Well, be honorable, have integrity. So, what's another example? Another example would be you're watching the news, the weather comes on, he's giving you some information, and then he says, now, let me show you the radar. Like, are you kidding me? How am I going to stop you? I can turn off my device. Everybody's saying, let me, when you should not be saying, let me. That sounds slavish to me. I think if you think about it, you're going to realize it's slavish and you got to stop it. Because what this agenda is going for is for you to say, let me have a couple of squares so I can wipe my behind, please. Let me have some food. Let me breathe without a mask. Let me go to the store. Let me. The heck with that. Own your authority. Stand in it. Um, you know, maybe you don't. Well, of course you don't, because I haven't even said anything yet. But what I want to say, I'm going to say, maybe you know, maybe you don't. Back in the day, we had an attitude that was this: I would rather ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. So, not, I'm talking about you're a good person. You just want to do, but you don't want to ask permission. Maybe people think, we don't mess with that. We don't do that. Well, maybe there's something they don't understand and you could just do it. And they'd be like, whoa, are you kidding me? But if you got to ask, and they're going to say, no, no, no. Well, how are you ever going to get that? Hey, can you do that again? Well, I got a real good example of that for you. So when I was a young man, just out of high school, I had graduated high school with auto certificates, brakes, engines, and front ends. I had a toolbox. I couldn't get a job in a dealership as a mechanic or a mechanic's helper. I could only get jobs as porters. And one time I got hired by a pedophile. I had to straighten that sucker out. Lord have mercy, the things we got to deal with. So a fellow by the name of Dick Chrysler uh, was the head man at Hearst Performance, that Trans Am that Burt Reynolds drove in Smokey and the Bandit. Hearst Performance shifter, T-top roof. That Dick was running that company, and Dick had everything in his head. Right? It's like most companies; they got file cabinet after file cabinet after file cabinet. Dick Chrysler just had a phenomenal memory. And when he left Hearst Performance, he took all that with him because it was in his head. And he started this company called Cars and Concepts. And he got a contract to do Velaris and Aspens, T-tops. And so it's a brand new factory. I went and applied, and I got hired. And they put me on a line right outside the cutting booth. And my job was to put the frame on because they cut the roof out. Now we got to put a frame structure in there, and then all the rubber seals can go in, and the hatches, and the upholstery can all go back up, and all the trim and everything. And so you want to go through that whole process and not have paint damage. And then when you water test it, you don't want it to be leaking. Well, they were having all kind of trouble getting these cars cut. And so inside that cutting booth is two cutters, one on each side of the car. Each grab a template, pull it down, clamp it, scribe, release it. It goes up. Take the air chisels, whomp, whomp, pick up the shears, right? There goes the sheet metal. Now you got the steel across. Take the tiger saw. Now it's open. Now you got the front of the car, and you got your A-pillar coming up, and you got metal, 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 spot welded, and then going across, you got metal. And this has all got to come out. So when you put that, because it's you can't get the frame on. You can't get the frame on. So you got to get that metal out of there. You got to cut this layer back, right? So that now you can bolt that frame up. Well, getting those layers of metal out, they were always damaging the sheet metal, the good sheet metal. Repair car after repair car, leaker after leaker. It's got to get painted. It's got to get bondoed. It's not going out. More work. And at the time, I think they were building about 5 repair cars a day. And no good cars. They'd have to make them good. They were building repair cars and making them good. Well, eventually they started getting a couple of good cars because every once in a while you get lucky. And but it was still a lot of repair cars. After a couple of months, the shop foreman, I still remember his name, Larry Cameron. He come walking up to me. He says, "Hey, Ethan," he says, "I want you to try cutting." He says, "You've been here putting on these frames. You know what the problem is with the frames. I want you to try cutting." Well, there was no problem with the frames. The problem was with the cutting and the damage they were doing. So you got these two college educated idiots in there wearing these white lab coats with their clipboard, with their safety glasses and their ear protection. And they just stand there all day long watching the cutters taking notes. Repair car after repair car. So this is how I get trained. Now, where you got all these plates of steel, then you've got a space, um, probably over a half an inch, and they took a plate steel and shaped it, wrapped it in duct tape, and put it between the sheet metal, the good finish sheet metal, and all this steel plate that's spot welded together. That's got to get chiseled, air chiseled out. And no matter what you do, you're putting pressure on that finished sheet metal, and you're going to damage it no matter what. And I'm trying to explain this to these guys, right? And they're just not getting it. I said, you got to get rid of this. They're saying no. They wouldn't even let me cut one car without it, right? So after about a week of this, maybe 2 weeks, I don't know, something like that. Uh, well, in the factory, if you ever worked in the factory, you get break, the line shuts down, everybody takes a break. You get lunch, the line shuts down, everybody takes a break. Well, it was lunchtime. The line shut down, but that doesn't mean the air compressor's not running or the electricity's not on. I had a car ready to go. I just sat there. Everybody else left. They're out the roach coach in the parking lot. Well, this air chisel, I mean, this is a cutting booth. This is a soundproof booth. This is a huge building. You can hear that air chisel a half a mile down the road outside the building, okay, on a quiet day. Seriously. So I got a car ready to go. It's lunchtime. And here we go. Right like this. And zip, 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 get it done. And here come in, the curtains open up, the shop foreman comes in, one of the office managers comes in, a couple of these college educated idiots come in. Ethan, what are you doing? It's lunchtime. Uh, can you do that again? See? And then so then I was the premier cutter. And then I trained people to cut. And then they put me back out on the line. They made me a utility man. And I worked every job on the line. So if somebody was sick or somebody got hurt, I was there taking care of it, right? And how old am I now? I'm 19 years old. And Dick Chrysler gets contract for the Thunderbirds. He's going to set up a factory in Chicago. And I'm engaged to get married. So I move out to Chicago as a foreman. Lord have mercy. However, you see, if I would have just lived my life living for permission, Dick Chrysler wouldn't have got his cars. He might not have got that Thunderbird contract. All right. And and I wouldn't have learned a lot of life lessons that I learned. So stop saying let me for everything you should do to have authority for. Now, the first time this really hit me, I'm sitting in front of a boob tube and I'm watching a show where a fella has put together some ancient type of missile projectile, and it's a good sized piece of equipment. It'd probably fill up this whole room right here. And so he's got it wound up, it's ready to go. And he steps back. Now, this is his show. He's the host. He's talking to us. And he gets his radar gun and he's going to test the speed of the projectile. And he steps back and he says, now let me check the speed. I'm like, what are you talking about? He let you. How can we let you or stop you? You recorded this who knows when. The only way I can't stop you, I could just stop watching you. So this is word manipulation and it's there to make you weak. And if you pay attention, you're going to hear it all day long when you shouldn't be hearing it if it was a society of people that owned their authority. So unslave. All right. All right. Blessings on y'all. Not all the videos are going to be long. We got to have some powerful impact. All right. Next time.